Business Development Center. My office is in Wilburton, Oklahoma, and here you see my contact information. I'm joined today by Nicole Tucker, who is our Business Development Advisor, who is located in our Durant office. You can see her contact information as well. And Cindy Rumener is our Training Coordinator. She is on board with us today as well, and she will be handling all of our technical aspects of our training today. So just a few tips and webinar etiquette. I think your mic will be muted throughout the presentation so that we can keep down any noise that might be distracting. We do ask that you utilize the chat features to ask questions. So Nicole will be monitoring our chat and asking you some additional questions, and you're able to ask questions for Nicole and I to answer as well in that chat feature. If you're unfamiliar with chat, it should be a bar at the bottom or the top of your screen, and it will have a little chat icon that looks like a little conversation box. So you can click on that and it will bring up an additional box for you to see the chat conversation. If you're on a mobile device, you should have 3 dots in your top right corner. You can click on that and the chat feature will come up and you can check it periodically. The webinar is being recorded, but it will not be distributed in recorded version, but you will get all of the presentation slides.
Recording in progress.
And so we want to make sure that you have the information so that you don't have to take notes furiously, but that you do get all of that information. And we do ask that you be mindful of other participants and remember that everyone, at least all of our presenters, can see you all if you have your camera on. We love to see you. We love to have that energy, but please be mindful if you're going to be up moving around, that could be distracting. So let me tell you a little bit about the Oklahoma Small Business Development Center. I'm not sure how familiar you are with our services. So we provide confidential, high quality, no cost entrepreneurial and small business management advising. So we help businesses everywhere from the startup phase all the way through legacy companies that are transitioning through generations and everything in between. We work a lot with growth companies. We work a lot with innovators. So a lot of variety in what we do to help our small business owners. So we are very committed to helping Oklahoma's economy grow one small business at a time. So we do have offices located across the state of Oklahoma. We also serve all 77 counties, even those counties where we don't have a physical office located. We're able to do advising work either through travel, through Zoom, or phone meetings, but we do serve clients across the state of Oklahoma. We do that through partnerships and collaborations with universities, colleges, career techs, economic development entities, chambers, Main Street programs, city governments, and more. So we are funded through the U.S. Small Business Administration. So I like to be really clear, we are not the SBA, but we are funded in part through the SBA, and they require a dollar for dollar match, and that funding comes from those entities that I mentioned earlier, like colleges, universities, cities, and chambers of commerce. So that means that our services are available to you at no cost. So obviously there's no cost to attend this training today, but also the one-on-one advising opportunities with our consultants and our business advisors are all available at no cost to you as well. So each one on our team is a business generalist, which means we are able to work with any business that walks through our door that is federally recognized. But we also work as a team across the state. There are almost 40 of us, and we work together to make sure that you get the type of support that you need. So these are a few of our areas of expertise, but it's expanding all of the time. There are a couple of that I would like to make special mention of today. We do have a market research team that's going to be specifically relevant to what our topic is today, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. We partner with OSU to offer that service. We also have an international trade team, so if you're looking at expanding internationally, and we won't touch on this a lot in our training today, but we want to make sure that you're aware that it's available to you. If you're exploring international markets or you're looking at how you translate and to be able to market internationally, we do have a team available that helps with that. And then our tech commercialization team, if you have innovations or you have modified something and you're considering patent development, then our tech commercialization team would likely be the team that you would need to work with. So our agenda today, obviously, we've gone through some introductions. We're going to be talking about overall marketing strategy, understanding our customers, understanding our market position, little bit about branding, tools that we can use, and then we'll spend quite a bit of time in question and answer because I know that there's a lot to cover. So what we're going to be talking about today, and the reason that we decided on this particular topic, we do a lot of workshops and a lot of trainings on specific tools and specific aspects of marketing. And what we've come to realize when a lot of our business owners walk in our door, they want those specific tools, like how do I use Facebook analytics, or how do I monetize YouTube, or those types of things. But we're not really looking at the overall strategy as a business. And so we're seeing a lot of content, but not a lot of quality and not a lot of cohesiveness of message. So that is why we wanted to do a workshop on overall market strategy. So we're going to be using a set of tools called Growth Wheel. And I did want to give you an overview of that because as business owners, we wear so many hats. And you can see here in our growth wheel, these are a number of the hats that you as a business owner or manager might wear. And so we're going to be spending a lot of time today in that green section on customer relations. But it's important that we're always functioning. I always like to think of this as a tire. So we always want to make sure that we're not functioning on a flat tire. So if you're spending all of your time in one of these quadrants, then we may need to do a business evaluation with you. Remember, those are available at no cost. And if you think that, oh, that might be something I'm interested in, at any time, you can drop that to the chat and Nicole will make sure that you get hooked up with an advisor so that you can get taken care of. So let's talk a little bit about crafting an overall market strategy. So I think it's important for us to understand kind of why we're in this space. One of the most challenging tasks, I think, is figuring out how to generate the demand for your product or service, right? It's wonderful to think like Field of Dreams. Okay, I build it and they will come, or I sell it and they will buy it from me. But that's not generally how it works. I wish it were. I wish everything was that easy, right? If you have a sound business plan and marketing strategy, it can be one of the most rewarding parts of running your business when you're able to revisit that plan and see that you've been successful. So what we want to do is we want to actually work on a strategy that positions your brand as a resource. So it's important that you understand the product or service that you're marketing. Now, I know many of you are thinking, okay, well, I market, this specific service. I'm a business consultant, right? So I market that service. So I understand that. But I need you to understand not just that aspect of the product, but also how that relates to your client or your customer. Also, is your messaging consistent? So once again, you can be on a multitude of platforms, but if your messaging is not consistent, then it creates some challenges with finding you and knowing what the next steps are. We also want to generate demand. So why do people need your product or your service? And let your brand become a resource. So in case you haven't noticed, and I'm sure that you have, the internet is really a cramped locale. If you think about it, you can then search for it and find it, right? But beyond that, businesses, it's important for our businesses today to not only survive online, we don't want to add to that flooded nature of the internet. What we want to do is we want to stand out. So how do you convince consumers to buy into what you have? When it comes to making a purchase or an investment, we know that customers can be driven by price points, right? But your pricing structure only takes you so far. Instead, they want to know that they're working with companies that are relevant, and you have to prove that you're knowledgeable about your products and your services. You have to understand your customer needs and the industry which they are in. So when that's done right with quality marketing, not just quantity, and it could be tutorials, it could be webinars, it could be blogs, it could be infographics, your brand then becomes synonymous with knowledge. And so when it is synonymous with knowledge, then I start to come back to that website. I start to return to your social media channels because I start to build that relationship with you. So you become the first resource I think of when I want a new product or a new service that's in that area, right? So it's important for us to understand that. So we have to do that in part by understanding our customer themselves. I encourage all of my clients to think about building an avatar of your customer. So when clients walk in and I ask them what their marketing strategy is or who needs what they're offering, generally they will say, everyone needs what I'm offering, right? And that's not exactly true because we're running profitable businesses. We want people that can afford our services or afford our goods, right? We're not running nonprofits and we're not running hobbies. We want people to be able to afford, and we have a profit margin built in. If you don't, that's a whole nother conversation that we need to have. But we need to understand our customers. So understanding them allows us to create value for them and to communicate with them in the best way. So we want to address their concerns. If they are interacting with us online, they give us about 3 seconds. Now you think about that. That is not very long. 1, 2, 3. That's how long we have to make an impression. At that point, if we have not made a positive impression or our page takes too long to load or we haven't engaged with them on social media and with the content that's engaging and relevant, then they've clicked on, right? Because it's so crowded online. If we're meeting them face to face or we're handing them, they get a business card or they see our sign, sometimes we get 3 seconds and sometimes they've made up their decision faster than that. So it's important that we make that initial impression so that they give us more time to build a relationship with them. Customers react differently based on different product features and communication approaches as well. So I want to talk a little bit about this and what a customer's expectation might be. So we all need to make sure that we understand our products that we're selling. I mentioned that earlier. We also need to understand what lane we're in, what space we're marketing based on. So are we based specifically on price alone, or are we based on customer service? Are we based in where our goods or products are made? Or is it some combination of those things? So it's important for us to understand that and what's important to our customer out of that, right? So each customer is not looking for the same shopping experience, whether it's price-based or customer service-based. So to give you an example of this, many of us have eaten at a fast food restaurant. Can we agree on that? Yeah, you guys, why don't you drop in the chat, what's your favorite fast food restaurant that you eat at? So I can see what we've got going on here. Who's in my audience? Okay, so we've got some Taco Bell fans. So what else? Chick-fil-A, Brahms. Okay, perfect. So those are the types of answers I expected from you guys. So we can agree that fast food restaurants definitely, they take marketing to a science, right? And they have whole marketing teams that take care of that for them. So let's say that you're going to go into a fast food restaurant and you're going to buy a chicken sandwich. So at some fast food restaurants, you're going to get a chicken sandwich and your order may or may not be right, but the colors in the restaurant are really bright. You're not going to pay very much for it. You're going to get it quickly. And you go to those types of fast food restaurants because it's fast and it's cheap. And that's why we go to those certain types of fast food restaurants. You may go to a different type of fast food. But I would say as fast food restaurants go, the quality might be comparable, right? It's not going to be like just head and shoulders above. But you might be willing to pay a little bit more for that chicken service because the order is always right. It's always served with a smile. There are some added customer service benefits in restaurant B. So we're willing to pay a little bit more based on the experience that we have, that customer service. Or maybe we're feeding a carload of kids and we want to eat at restaurant A because we know it's fast and cheap, right? We're not expecting phenomenal quality and we're not expecting our order to be right every time. So both types of fast food restaurants have great profit margins. I think any of us would take profit margins from any of those that we've mentioned here in our chat. I know I would, but they're not all marketing in the same lane, right? They know who they are and they're staying true to their brand. So we're going to talk a little bit more about branding, but they also know who their customers are, what their customers want. Now, I also think it's important for us to understand that depending on what you are promoting, you may have different customers, right? So you may have customers that are across different age demographics. So you're going to reach them differently. So let's say I'm going to start a lawn care business. If I'm going to start a lawn care business, I'm going to target 3 types of customers. I'm going to target busy professionals who don't have time to take care of their lawn themselves. I'm also going to target a senior population who doesn't want to deal with the heat or the maintenance, but has disposable income and can afford my services. And I'm also going to market to other businesses because I want to get into that commercial space. Now, I want you to think about that. I've targeted 3 very specific types of customers. Now I can look at those customers and I can identify what communication approaches are going to be particularly useful for each one of those customers. I'm not going to reach my senior customers the same way I reach my business customers, right? So on one of those, I'm going to maybe use the local newspaper. I might go to the Senior Citizen Center. I may use Facebook marketing. For my business clients, however, I'm probably going to use word of mouth, Chamber of Commerce, some actual door-to-door marketing and relationship building, and maybe LinkedIn profiles or other types of social media that are better suited for business work. So it's important for us to understand each one of our customer profiles.
Hey, Nick, it might be helpful for some of our guests to put in what type of media they are you currently using for marketing as of now. If you could just drop it in the chat.
I think that's a great point, Nicole. And maybe even what industry you're in. So we can kind of look at those as well. So one tool that you can use are customer surveys. And I feel like these are extremely underutilized customer surveys. So customer surveys are important for us to understand the specific challenges of our customers and how they want their challenges addressed. Customers react very differently to different product features and communication styles. So by adjusting our communication and our products to those different customer segments, we can get more customers and make more sales. So sometimes those customer surveys can be very formal, right? They can be a written out survey that we hand our customer. If we're a larger business, we might actually employ someone to do a customer survey for us. It can be much less formal, right? It can be asking someone, how did you hear about us? And getting that feedback and keeping track of that at the register. It's important for us to track the data though, and to get the information directly from the customers. Sometimes we as humans make generalizations. So if 3 people tell us, oh, well, I saw it on Facebook, then our brain starts to say everyone is on Facebook, right? That's just kind of a human nature to say. But when we actually have data, and we can look at it and say, well, we had 3 people that heard about us on Facebook. We had 2 that found us on Instagram. We had 15 that Google searched for us. And we had 10 that heard through us from another customer or client. Okay, then we can look at the data and we can make some decisions for marketing purposes that are actually data driven. So it's important to track that data. So remember, these can be written, email follow-up, face-to-face surveys, phone follow-up surveys, online tools, or you can ask through social media, and that also drives your engagement and your search engine optimization if you're using your social media in that way. You can also use it through your website, or you can develop a QR code that leads to your survey. So you have a lot of opportunities to survey your customers. It's important that we keep our customer surveys concise, because you as a customer don't want to spend 20 minutes necessarily filling out a survey. So think about what your customer would want and how to reach your target customers. We always have to go back to that customer profile. Think about our target customers. So an important point I think to think about as well, some of you, it looks like, are in very established businesses, while others are just getting started. If you are an established business, you may want to revisit some of your past customers to get this information, as well as your current customers. If you're just starting out, you may want to look at some focus groups, or you may want to look at who you expect your target audience to be and go find those future customers in those locations. So maybe if I'm a boutique, I want to go to some specific women's groups or chambers of commerce women's groups and survey that target customer population. So we don't necessarily have to have them as customers today. It can be in a target group that we're looking to move toward. So in order to do marketing, we have to understand our market position. So any business can get a lot of inspiration, I believe, by looking at your competition. You have to understand your market position, once again, that lane that you're going to operate in, but you also have to understand all of your competitors. So these could be rival competitors, or they could be role model competitors, or they could be friendly competitors. So we map out all the different players in the market. And it's possible after we do that mapping to systematically research where to stay different and where to imitate the practice of others that are in the market. So sometimes imitation is good, but sometimes we need to differentiate ourselves, right? So I see that we've got some folks on that have the opportunity to maybe focus on the fact that they're made in Oklahoma. That might be a market differentiation. If you're an IT company, being responsive may be a market differentiation depending on others that are in your specific realm of IT. So understanding who your competitors are, also understanding whether those are local competitors, regional competitors, or online competitors, whether they're friendly competitors or real rivals. So you might have friendly competition. So you may want to refer someone, if you can't meet their needs, to one of your competitors, knowing that they're going to refer people back to you. I've got a couple of clients that are insurance. They're all in the insurance industry. One of them handles commercial insurance, and one only handles residential and farm insurance. And so they cross refer all the time. So you might have friendly competition like that. So you want to make sure that when you're looking at the market position and everyone that's in the market, you take a close look at who are the important players. So you can get some market data on revenue from different businesses, and you can kind of see where others' sales are, and identify similarities and differences in what you're offering versus others in the market. And then review their marketing efforts. Try to identify who their target audiences are and determine whether or not you're targeting the same population that they are. And maybe that you sell a very similar product or service, but you have two completely different target groups based on who you want to be working with. There may also be opportunities to collaborate. And I think a lot of times our businesses overlook that, right? There may be opportunities to cross-market. There may be opportunities to collaborate on a service or an offering to reach a larger or wider range of audience. And there might be specific ways to differentiate or speak to a different audience. Once again, I mentioned earlier international sales. With many of us marketing online, we have the entire globe available to us as potential market opportunity. And sometimes we don't look at that. We have other states available to us. We don't just have to market to those who are able to drive to us for products anymore. So understanding exactly who our target audience is, but also who our competitors are and what we want our market position to be. If you're coming into the market, this is something that you really want to spend a lot of time on, because you want to make sure that you kind of find that lane that you want to focus on. So we then want to do some market research. So we can do market research that is cost effective. I know a lot of times when we think of market research, we're thinking of things that may cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to gather the data that we need. We do have a market research team available, and we can get information for you on demographics. We can get it for you on other industries so that we can know where you are financially compared to others in your industry. We can set up and evaluate what your marketing plan looks like now, so we can look at pushing and gathering information on a new target market. But I think looking into that market research gives you a lot of useful information to support your decision making. So you can get an overview of what topics to explore as a decision maker for your business. You can also get the right information on current or new markets. So identify the market that you want to push toward, and then we need to look at what is the industry code. You can gather a lot of information by knowing your industry code. You guys just drop me a quick message and let me know yes or no if you know your industry code. So that would be like an NAICS code or an SIC code. You know, a lot of our business owners come to us and they don't know those yet. And so that's something that we can help you determine what your industry codes are. It's also important for search engine optimization to understand that as well. And I know we're not going to go into the specifics of website development and search engine optimization, but understanding that industry code can be helpful for that as well. Once you have that industry code, and then you start to determine what your geographic reach is going to be, where are you willing to ship? Are you, some of you are doing something that is very localized, and others are, looks like you're able to ship anywhere in the world. So that helps you determine different pieces of what we need to pull in for market research. Also, we have to look at what are trending, what are trends in your specific industry. And are you somebody who's going to be involved in creating the trends that are going on in your industry? Are you the one that's cutting edge? And so how do we take advantage of that? Are you following a certain trend, or do you want to stay away from trends and go with something that is very kind of very traditional? So Daryl just asked a quick question, and I know Nicole is picking that up, but I just do want to go ahead and answer that one out loud. If you want to get an evaluation of your business or your market plan, you can just drop a note in the chat, and Nicole and I will be working to make sure that you all get matched up with a business advisor that can assist you. And remember, that doesn't cost anything. So by exploring those new trends in various areas, you can be inspired on ways that you can adapt to the change and the trends that are coming that are appropriate for your business, right? Not all of us need to be trendsetters. Some of us need to wait and see if that trend is going to be something that is going to be profitable and going to be popular long term. Figure out who the pioneers are in the space, and then watch the competition and see who is going to be impacted by that, and what is going to be a disruptive trend and what is going to be a profitable trend, because those are not always the same thing. So once we understand our market and have a good idea of, you know, who our market is, who our customers are, who our competitors are, what our lane is, those are really important things for us to understand. Then we can start to develop our brand. And a lot of times this is where people come in and they work with us as advisors and they get really excited about their logo, right, Nicole? Everyone's excited about their logo. They want to create that perfect logo, which is wonderful. And we get to see some great ones. But then many times that's where it stops, right?
I think that this is the biggest thing is everyone wants to brand. They want to sell their idea, their business. They want, and you know, you start it, you want it to be successful. You want to show what you have to offer, and branding is huge. I'm just curious if you'll drop in the chat. What do you think people are looking at your company? How do they perceive your company as of now, as of today? How have you marketed it? How has your brand been delivered to your target audience?
And maybe to add to that, Nicole, do you have a logo? Do you feel like you have a clear brand?
Exactly, because that could be another thing that you could work with an advisor on, and you know, brainstorming. We do that all the time, just knocking ideas back and forth. That helps clear things and gives you sometimes you just don't know.
So as you guys are dropping that into the chat, I'm going to remind you that you're going to get this presentation. I know you can see in the four corners of this slide different things to consider when it comes to your brand, right? Your visual identity, your physical identity, your linguistic identity, and your values. So we're going to talk just a little bit about each one of those things. So a lot of people get really hung up on the visual identity. They worry a lot about the colors of their brand. They worry about that graphic identity, right? What type of photo are they going to use? What are they using on their website? What does their logo look like? And those are all very important. I would also add that you need to, once again, think about where placement. So if you're going to be wearing a shirt that has your company name or your company logo, you need to think about how does that embroider, right? So if you're something that's fine detail, it doesn't always embroider quite right. If you're going to be driving past it on a billboard at 75 or 80 miles an hour, we're going to assume everyone drives the speed limit. So if we're going to be zooming past a billboard, how does it translate, right? Is it easy to read? Is it a script font that I can't read at 80 miles an hour? So those are all things to think about. Your visual identity, how does it feel? Back to our fast food restaurants, again, you notice a lot of our fast food restaurants use those really bright colors, right? They do that because they're energizing and they make us eat fast and they make us eat more. So those are important things to remember. What are, those things all go into the visual identity.
Also, back to what you said, Dana, I'm sorry.
No, that's great.
Those restaurants that you're talking about, you know what you're going to get when you get there. You already understand that visual, and you know what their service is. You know what kind of product they're going to provide. So you're already comfortable, and you already have the comfortable factor that you are going to go and get what you think that you're going to get. They've already sold you on what kind of company they are and what they provide. So that's another thing. It's a customer a trust factor for your customer. They know what they're going to get because they see that brand and they know that is.
Oh no, you cut me off.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I went on mute. That's my point, is that you can look at a McDonald's arch and your kids at age 3 know what their product is and what they're going to get.
Exactly. We know, like, I think every kid can point that out just from the start, right?
Hey, that's the first signs of reading.
Right, exactly. So a lot of times businesses spend time on their visual identity, but they don't spend as much time on their physical identity, their linguistic identity, and really their value promotion. So your physical identity, you're not just your product itself, but also the packaging. What locations do you want to focus on? Do you have physical brick and mortar stores? And if you do, what is the appearance of the brick and mortar store? What is the furniture? What is the flow as you walk in? Do you want people to come in and sit and stay? Do you want them to hurry out? So understanding that physical identity. I have some background in the healthcare field, and so this was a big important thing for healthcare, and it went down even to employee appearance, right? Making sure that everyone was easily identifiable by their scrub color and by their name badge. And was their name badge something that was welcoming, or was it something that was difficult or challenging to understand what their role was in the healthcare field? So all of those things can be important. Your linguistic identity, your product name, your slogan, your tone of voice, these are really, really important. And a lot of times we see businesses who don't really understand their linguistic identity. So their tone of voice, especially across social media, might be very formal one day and very casual or jokingly the next day. So kind of reining that in and really identifying, what do we want the tone of our business to be? Are we going to be playful? Let's be playful all the time then, right? Let's make our visual identity match up with that. So we don't have something that is very, very professional and very formal from a visual identity, and then our linguistic tone on social media or on our website be very casual. So they all kind of need to be cohesive. And
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, jump in, Nicole. That's great.
Ida makes a really great point on here. She talks about how she has a strong brand identity established, but she's hiring new staff. And that's another huge thing is, your staff has to invest in your brand. They have to, you have to train them also, because they are a direct reflection of your brand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is a fantastic point. And it goes along kind of with this last quadrant on values. So if you don't understand your brand values, your corporate values, your personal values, and how that translates out into your branding, and I think, Nicole, that's a perfect point. Your employees have to be a part of that, right? They have to embrace the same values. Social responsibility, if that is something that's key for your business. They need to portray the customer service intent that you want for your business and your voice. They also need to present when they're out at events or activities representing your business with the same tone of voice, with the visual identity, with the way that they appear, their linguistic tone and professionalism, they need to appear the same way you would, right? So you need to make sure that that is really cohesive going in. So this is something that oftentimes people get excited about their logo, they get their logo developed, and then they don't really spend a lot of time thinking about these other areas of branding. And it's essential that you think about all of those pieces and that you think about it consistently, right? As Nicole, I think that's your point as well. Anytime you bring on new employees, make sure that that's part of your onboarding, that they understand the branding, they understand what colors are okay for you to use. Even in a PowerPoint presentation or in signage, those are important things to understand. It's important for them to understand what the expectation is when they present. And I don't mean just formal presentations, answering the phone, right? That's a big deal, making sure that they're representing well. So those things are all important, and many times they're left out of onboarding. We just think people automatically are supposed to know those things. And so we have to teach them if we want our brand to be consistently represented.
Totally agree.
So along those lines, well, let me see if I can get my slide to advance. Along those lines, we want to talk about brand authenticity. So we want to strengthen the credibility and authenticity of the company and the brand. And that allows us to be better at attracting new customers and keeping current ones. It also allows us to take our current customer base and turn them into our marketing force. So the cheapest, and I know we like to say cost effective, right? But the most inexpensive way to obtain new customers and clients is through word of mouth. That is also the fastest way to lose future customers and clients, right? So brand authenticity is really, really important when it comes to this. So, when we look at this, we look at, does everyone in the organization understand the mission? Do they understand the products that are being represented or the services? And are they able to articulate that? And do we deliver every time? Who are our customers? Making sure that our staff, whether that's whether that's me, or a team of staff, making sure that they understand our customers as well as the people who help develop the brand. Understanding who our partners are. So we talk about this a lot because our partners are not just those who are financially invested in our company. Our partners are also our insurance agents, our lenders, our real estate agent, our bankers. They have a feel for our brand as well. And if they understand it well, then they become a referral source. And though, once again, this is it's the highest return on investment. It's the least cost to you as a business owner to basically create that network marketing impact. Every employee should understand your mission. They should understand all of your products. They should understand your brand and who the company is. Creating that corporate culture. Then we bring in the sales and marketing piece and that communication and PR piece so that we make sure the messaging is consistent. We're putting out quality content, and then making sure that what we're doing has a return on investment. So I know somebody in the chat a while ago said that they are very, very specific in what they choose to support in their community. And my guess is they're choosing to support things that match up with their social mission, and it all relates back to their brand authenticity, right? So I think it's important when we're looking, and once again, we're running for-profit businesses, not nonprofit. So we know that as small business owners, you will be approached by every fundraiser, every school in your region, every Little League team. I'm seeing big head nods. Yeah. So, and you have to be careful from a financial standpoint. I know this isn't about finance, but I think it's very important for us to keep that in mind when we're talking about our marketing and our brand and our strategy, because we can $100 it or $200 it until it actually gets us in the red as business owners, right? If we support everything. So I think we come back and we create some brand standards. We create some policies Because what we find is if I approach Nicole and I say, Nicole, can you help out our Little League team? If Nicole's response is, well, our company policy is to support those businesses that do, or those groups that do business with us, people don't generally argue with policy, even if it's you who made the policy. It's just, some terminology that you can use. Now, maybe that Little League audience is my exact target customer group. And if that's the case, then yes, I would love to have, my logo on all of their shirts. But is that going to give me return on investment? If the answer to that is no, then what do I need to do to go a step further to get the engagement that I need? So let's talk just for a minute about that. If we're choosing specific things to invest in, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but I think it's important because it goes back into this brand authenticity. Maybe I want to support the Little League team because that is my target audience. And if that's the case, I don't just want my name on the shirts. I'm going to invite those families in for an open house, or I'm going to do something so that they engage with me. They learn more about our products and services so that there's actual engagement and they understand and they become part of that network ambassador to market my business, right? So anytime I participate in a fundraising event, if I'm donating to a silent auction, right, I'm going to try to take a picture with whoever got my item that I donated, right? So that I can then use that on my social media and for marketing purposes, those kind of things. So it's more than just me donating an item or giving money. How do I follow up with that brand authenticity to be more involved and give me more return on that investment? So I feel like those are things to keep in mind as well. So developing our pitch is also very, very important. So I love it when business owners walk in and they're getting ready to talk to me and I say, okay, tell me what you do. And I'm like, and it goes on for 10 minutes. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is great. Okay, so then I will say, okay, if I'm one of your future customers, tell me what you do. And it's the exact same message that I just got, then we have a problem, right? Because we have 3 seconds to make that impression. We have 30 to 60 seconds. So we always call these elevator pitches, right? To really grab someone's attention. So in the 3 seconds, we make the impression with kind of those visual cues, right? And that understanding of what our client wants. So if, for example, on a website, if I hit a website and the first thing I hit on their landing page is the About Us section, okay, I don't really care about who you are as a company if I don't know if you can meet my need. So I want to see the shopping or the meet my need piece first, and I can click on the About Us a little bit later after I'm already hooked, right? So when I'm meeting someone face to face or on my website or on my social media, I need to know how to be very concise, very clear about what I'm offering and why you should want this from me. So you want to really spend some time answering these questions. And you may want to answer the questions and write it out. It may be a full page, and then you start to make it more and more concise, right? Because you may get that opportunity to develop what we call a capability statement or a longer pitch, but really we need to start with that elevator piece. So I always explain it to people. We generally want to write something, and I encourage you, write it down, right? So that you have it clear and practice it. This is another piece of onboarding for employees that I feel is missed. I want all of my employees to be able to tell you exactly what my business does, right? This is also then what your employees say over and over. And when your clients or your customers hear it repeatedly from you, from your employee, from your social media, from presentations, they can then turn around and as your customers, they will basically utilize this pitch for you if everyone's giving that same consistent message. So it's important that you develop this. I would develop it in writing. I would develop it on about an eighth or ninth grade reading level to make it very conversational. Now, this, once again, needs to match your tone of the rest of your branding. So it's important for us to keep that in mind. So let's talk a little bit about marketing activities. So this is the original thing that led us to create this specific training. We have a lot of people that participate in a lot of marketing activities, and many times you're reacting to being asked to engage in something, right? So the newspaper reaches out to you and says, "We're doing a circular on summer events in our community. Do you want to advertise?" You're caught off guard. You say yes, and then you think, "I'm not sure if that was the best return on investment. I didn't hear anyone say that they heard about me from the circular from the newspaper," right? But we react rather than having an overall strategy. So we get hung up in doing these activities, and we don't really develop all of the pieces to the strategy. So I encourage you to think about the return on investment for each one of these things. Each one of these things is very specific, going all the way back to that customer profile piece. You're not going to reach every customer the same way, right? So back to my lawn care company, if I'm creating my lawn care company, maybe I need business cards because I'm going to hand those out to my current customers. Maybe I want yard signs because I want to have everyone in a certain neighborhood that's within my target demographic, right? And sometimes they tend to live in neighborhoods, depending on metro areas versus rural areas. But maybe I don't necessarily need to take out a billboard, or maybe I do. It depends on your specific geography and your target audience. There's also a demographic sense to this in that different age groups, different populations get their information differently, right? So if you look at social media statistics, and I'm kind of a statistics nerd, so almost every demographic has some type of representation on YouTube. YouTube is the fastest growing social media channel for people to get their information. For a lot of our business owners, it's also the most scary. A lot of our business owners are really frightened about putting content out on YouTube. But across the age demographics, YouTube is the most popular across all demographics. Then next you have Facebook, which is very popular from about age 30 onward. So has a large Facebook. Now, in rural areas, a lot of your younger demographic continue to have a Facebook presence because a lot of your news and information goes out on Facebook, right? So they're actually reverse driving Facebook traffic because that's the accepted method in your rural areas, because you don't have just one media source and you don't have necessarily news channels or those kinds of things, certain radio stations. So everyone goes to Facebook to get their news. So then you have Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. You have all of these different media on social media alone, plus TV, radio, web banners, all of these different things. You have to think about where your target audience is getting their information, right? So I think it's interesting, Nicole, that you pointed out kind of those golden arches that our kids all identify. So marketing for fast food restaurants is done to the parents, but in some cases, they have actually target marketed to children because parents will give in, right? Parents will give in for that toy or that fast boxed meal, right? The Wacky Pack or the Happy Meal or whatever it is. So those things are important to understand how the decisions are made and who is making the decisions, who is your actual target audience. So I think it's important for us to understand that and then look at our marketing activities to see if those align. Now, going back to our brand authenticity, see, all this just ties together. When we're putting out content, we want to be that resource. So we look at our marketing activities to figure out how does it position us in that realm of competition, right? So are we positioned as an expert? Are people coming to us not just for what's on sale, but what the actual content is, right? So if you're a boutique, maybe I'm going to walk in and I want, yes, I'll go to the sale rack because I want to see what's on sale. But what I really go to their social media for is to see what's trending. What do I need to own to stay up to date, right? What is the latest professional wear? And then I also see the sales items, or I have the capability to click shop now while I'm there. But that's not what pulls me in, right? Maybe they have a fashion show regularly of the latest styles, something like that. So that's a need that, I think I have, right? I need to have the latest professional wear. So I'm driven to that website or to that boutique for that information, and then I'm pulled into shop. So I'm coming back for the content, not just for the product. And that's where we have to position ourselves. Otherwise, we do get caught in that clutter, whether it's as we're driving, you guys know you drive through areas that have 15 billboards. Not all of those billboards get seen, right? So we're looking for those that deliver something additional to us. So we need, go ahead.
I think the same, Dana, could be said for if you don't have a target audience and you're not really sure, but you have ads on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, people are going to start ignoring it because they see it so much. And if you're posting 2 or 3 times a day, it's just going to become, like white noise for them. They're not going to pay attention to what their content is because they see it so much. You want to be able to find your target audience, and because those are the people who are going to be word of mouth for you and say, I saw this amazing ad. They're going to be the ones that are going to pay attention to your content. You don't want to be on everything and everywhere because at some point it's going to be a distraction and not pulling people in. They're going to start ignoring. It's, like I said, white noise.
I think that's a great point. And you may be, I always say it's kind of like flying over in an airplane and just throwing money out the window and hoping it lands in the hands of someone that's going to spend it with you. Because if you're on all of those platforms and those aren't your target audience, you're spending money to create white noise, right? I think that's a great point. So when we look at each one of these marketing activities, we need to be tracking back that data on return on investment. So how did you hear about us? Where did you see us? Those kinds of things. Have your staff ask those questions. It's important for you to know where you're getting the return on investment. Some things are going to be important for you because you want to be involved in the community, or it's something that you believe in from a social standpoint. But all of your marketing activities in some way need to be driving sales. So I work with a client that has a phenomenal social media presence. Everyone in their industry knows who they are because of their social media presence. However, they've struggled, and they just started working with us because they need to take that social media presence and turn that into sales, right? They've positioned themselves in such a way that they're a lot of fun and they're entertaining on social media, but they haven't actually translated that to sales. So that we're working with them to make that jump, right? So what is the return on investment? What are we driving? We also, Nicole, I think to your point, I think each one of us probably has that friend that when we see the friend coming, we think, oh my goodness, what are they going to try to sell me now? Right? All of us have that friend, right? Please tell me I'm not the only one. Yes, give me a head nod. Let me know. Yes, you have that friend. Yeah, okay. I'm seeing some smiles and some head nods. Perfect. So we don't want to be that person online. We don't want to be that person in our Chamber of Commerce, right? We want to bring value. So online, when you're marketing, you want to think back to that authenticity. You want to think back to your brand and your voice, but you want to push out that content that's going to make you and position you as an expert. If you're asked to speak at your Chamber of Commerce, it shouldn't all be about what you have on sale, right? It should be, maybe you're a real estate agent. You're not just out there asking for the listing, right? You're going to be telling me, okay, this is what you need to do to get your house ready to sell. When I hear you speak about that, I'm going to think, oh my goodness, they know exactly what they're talking about. And I'm going to go out and tell my neighbor, hey, if you're selling your house, you need to work with XYZ real estate because they know how to position your house just right. Right. So you become that content expert and people come to you for the content. And if you position yourself as an expert, then you're going to get the sales. Right. So a good rule of thumb is about 10 to 15% of your content needs to be just explicit sales related. The rest of it is more soft selling and more content, kind of that positioning piece. So, I think it's important for us to consider all of these marketing activities. Some of these may be seasonal for you. Noticing some of the industries that we have with us today, some of these things may be seasonal. So you also want to look at what are your marketing activities. I would encourage you, as you're looking at your brand, as you're developing your pitch, to work on a marketing calendar, right? And a budget for your marketing that is at least a year in advance. And I know for some of you, you're thinking, I don't even know next year's Christmas trends today. But we have to think about, we start Christmas marketing in September. Yes, September. I know it's crazy. But so you have to think about those things. If you're going to get the opportunity to do a promotional event, those don't just pop up at the last minute as a general rule. You're going to know about those in advance. So we need to make sure that we have the materials and we have the messaging in advance so that we're planning ahead and we're not reacting every time the Little League comes in or the newspaper comes in or we get hit up about an advertising opportunity. We need to know what's going to fit in. What is our strategy for the year? And then we start to develop campaigns, right? So we can create campaigns that are content specific around specific products or services that we're going to offer. And then we can take these marketing activities and map out what best matches up with the target audience for that specific campaign and our message for that specific campaign.
Dana, we have a question. What if your business is utilized as a media marketing source? Does the seasonal approach still apply?
So Ryan, I'm not sure if I completely understand the question. I think that you're asking, and you can clarify it if you want to, but I think what you're asking is you all actually help support marketing and media efforts of other businesses. And so is that seasonal? So it's interesting. Part of that is budget driven. So it really depends on your specific clients. So some clients are really good at establishing their marketing budget. They have this down, right? They're looking a year in advance. They know when those billboards are going to roll. So yours may be seasonal because they may want those to roll every other month or quarterly. So as you're marketing your services, you need to make sure as you're signing your contracts, you're spacing that out to help manage your cash flow. You're also going to have bigger opportunities at certain times of the year, right? In our area, we know that spring is a big marketing opportunity because everyone likes to get outside in the summertime. And then and they're headed to the lake and they're headed to hike and horseback ride and ride ATVs and all of those kinds of things. So they're going to be driving more. If you're doing outdoor advertising, that picks up, and those change a lot of times in the spring. Getting ready for Christmas season, holiday sales, those kinds of things. But then you have service-based companies that are consistent year-round, and so they're going to need those services throughout the year. But you're also going to have large years, so campaign years. If you're a marketing and media company, your campaign years are going to be larger years for you, right? Because they need lots of print materials and lots of marketing and media support. So once again, it comes back to who is your target audience, who is your customer. I work with some clients that specifically target campaigns. And so they know they're on, 3-year cycles for their cash flow instead of a yearly cycle. So it's very dependent on who your customer is. And that's why I think it's essential to know what those customer profiles look like for your business. If you pick up nothing else today, knowing your customer profile is the most essential thing. We've got a question about if you've been in existence for a few months, but you're not getting leads or closing a single deals. What can we do to amplify our sales and increase traffic toward our company? So I'll be honest with you, I would take advantage of our services because I feel like you're having a little bit of trouble. Either you don't have the right target audience, target customer group honed in, or you're not reaching out to that group in the correct way. So I think if you haven't had a single lead or closed a single deal in 9 months, you may also have an issue with closing. And we see a lot of clients that have that issue. I know that's not necessarily a marketing thing, but closing is an art, and so that may be an issue as well. Looking at your backside analytics for your marketing to see what kind of traffic is on your website, what kind of traffic is on your social media. Asking, and I'm not sure what type of business or industry you're in, but asking why they didn't sign with you. Did they go with someone else? What was the do those follow-ups, do those customer surveys even with the people who didn't buy from you. If you have their contact information, go ahead and reach out so that you know why they went with someone else. Was it a cost issue? Did they think that you weren't the right service provider for them? So IT service provider. Yeah, so those would be my follow-up questions, and knowing specifically for your industry. Are you a managed service provider that's specific to healthcare? Are you specific to education? Those kind of things. I think it's very important. And I know it sounds crazy, but when we're doing diagnostic work with clients, many times it goes back to trying to cast too broad a net. Kind of like Nicole said, you become white noise because you're just out there floating and you're not targeting and pinpointing your exact audience. So go ahead and jump to next steps. This is next steps for you all. Work with someone on a marketing strategy review. If, as a small business owner, you have a team of people. So that may be staff members within your organization that you need to work with to develop and figure out what's going on with your current strategy. It may be bringing in an outside advisor. Maybe it's one of us or a team of us if you feel like you're really in trouble. Maybe it's working with some mentors that you might have that are in similar businesses or maybe through your Chamber of Commerce. And then develop an action plan. So here's what I also want to tell you. I don't want everybody to go out and say, well, we need to rebrand tomorrow. That may not be the case, right? We also see that reactionary approach of, well, we didn't put enough thought into our brand on the front side. We just need to rebrand. Well, if you've spent a lot of time and energy advertising that brand, maybe we just need to make some tweaks to how you're doing that. And we need to use the same brand because you've already put some effort and energy out into building what you have today. And then you can determine if you need a business evaluation to look at additional opportunities for growth, maybe new markets that you want to explore if you've never thought about international or you've never thought, about crossing state lines. There may be some options there as well. So wanted to give you all of that information. So I also wanted to make sure you have Nicole's information and my information. And then I think we've got some time to open it up for questions. And as we do that, I think Cindy's going to launch a poll. I did mention to you, all of our services are available to you at no cost. But the SBA does ask that we get some feedback from you. So we're going to have you evaluate and find out if you thought this was helpful. And you'll also get that follow-up email from us that has all of our slides. If you would give us some feedback about specific things that you would want from a marketing presentation, so that we can go ahead and do some follow-up presentations as well and start to draft those, I think that would be helpful to Nicole and I as we kind of look forward to that as well.
We do have a question. She says she gets 46 visits daily on her page and about 27 on Etsy, but she's still not getting sales. She wants to know if that's a closing issue or an ask issue, maybe an advising type issue.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an advising type issue. Not knowing exactly what lane she's focused on. Are you focused on price points, and do you know what your competitors are charging, or are you focused on quality of product? Many times it is an ask issue. Many times you fail to ask for the sell, right? So Etsy does a little bit of that for you. So I'm surprised that you're not seeing sales on Etsy. So I would want to look at what your competition is on Etsy. And then getting 46 visits daily on my page. I would follow up. So if any of those are they putting things in their cart and then they're abandoning their cart? If that's the case, then you may have a perception issue. Many times people go, well, they abandoned their cart, and when you reach out to them to find out why, it's because free shipping wasn't offered, right? If it's smaller items. And so my clients go, well, I can't afford to offer free shipping. Well, what you don't realize is we all pay for shipping, right? We're all paying for shipping somewhere, either in the price of the product or we're paying for shipping. So you may need to word it differently and present it differently if that seems to be the issue. Let's see. Okay, I'm catching up a little bit here, Nicole. If you want to jump in.
Yeah, we have. Can you give me a quick breakdown of branding versus advertising versus marketing? Like, what are the differences? And
sure. So branding is actually the voice, and I'm going to actually jump back to that slide. So branding is actually the voice. It's the appearance of your company. It is what your company stands for. There's a visual piece to that. So that's all branding. Advertising is activity, right? It's specific channels that you're going to use to make the ask. So, getting the actual sale. You're advertising the specific product or service that you have. You're letting them know what your prices are, those pieces. Marketing is where you position yourself. You understand the larger market around you, excuse me, and you're really positioning yourself kind of as that resource element. So advertising is more what you, the specific ask activities. Marketing is broader, right? It's more general. It's more, it goes right hand in hand with networking. And then branding is the actual voice of your particular business. Did that help clear it up? I hope it did.
We had several people asking for marketing evaluation, and you can all do that with clicking on the link. I've dropped in the chat 2 times. It's also on one of the pages. You can register, and you will be matched with an advisor that can help you with all of those issues and questions.
And another way that you can, if you think, oh, well, I'm not going to have access to that link after this, we're going to be sending out the presentation. You can respond to the email, and we'll make sure that you get matched with an advisor as well if you'd like to do that, or if you'd like to send us specific questions via email, then we can match you with an advisor who can address those things that are very specific for your business. Okay, so I'm gonna make a couple of comments to Paris's question here. So there's a lot of opportunity for businesses that are doing lead generation. There's a lot of financial investment with some of those companies to get that information and to really get that lead generation or search engine optimization, depending on kind of which area you're in. And you're realizing that the problem is not the lack of marketing resources, but rather it's the lack of sufficient funding to afford for media services. So I'll be honest with you, most of us as advisors are either have been or are currently small business owners. So we will help you evaluate based on your budget, what are the best steps for you. And that's where, once again, understanding that customer profile. A lot of companies out there are happy to take your money to do a lot of lead generation. They're not always so customer focused that they are lead generations that are going to drive sales, if that makes sense. So we need to look at specifically, even if you're going to work with someone who's doing lead generation, you need to understand who your customer is first so that they can be pinpoint focused on that customer type and you can help them. Otherwise, sometimes it's really, really general what they put out and for lead generation. And their funnel is so wide that a lot of the stuff that comes in through the funnel is not going to convert. So I think you have to be careful about that. And we also like to help you kind of evaluate what are some lower cost options that may be a good starting point. And then if you want to move into that space later on, it may be the space for you maybe in the next step. So I think it's important for you to understand that. And we do help you evaluate that as well. Let's see. So we get a question about financial support that we offer. So we actually are not a financial institution. So we don't offer financial resources per se, but what we do is we help you get ready to apply for loans, to identify grant funding and apply for grant funding. I do want to go ahead and I know this is a marketing, not a financial, but I always like to clear up misconceptions. There are not a lot of grants out there for small business owners to start small businesses. There are some grants currently out to help small business owners with some marketing efforts and some of those kind of things. But those are competitive grants, so you need to be prepared to make application and know that you're one of hundreds, thousands that are making application for those possible grants. But we do help you position yourself to be ready for lending opportunities and look at other types of funding that are available as well. Let's see. So it looks like Cindy has dropped several of you some chat messages. We want to make sure that we are able to get follow-up information to all of you. So if you are logged in with a generic name on your device, so if it says like iPhone or iPad, something like that, and not your actual name, or if your name doesn't match up with the email that you registered with, that's how we know that you're here and we can follow up with you. If you'll respond to Cindy's private message so that she'll know that we're here, that you're here. All right, so I'm not seeing a lot of other questions. Nicole, did I miss anything?
I think that we answered most of the questions. A lot of people are interested in setting up meetings and registering for some evaluations, and the link is in the chat.
So we do have some additional workshops that are coming up that are specific to specific activities. So I know there's a Google workshop coming up. Is that next week, I think, Cindy? So, go back and check out our website and check to see what other workshops might be of interest to you. Like I said, this one was really general because we were talking about strategy, and then we have workshops that are based on specific tools for marketing.
On June 8th, we will have a make better decisions using Google Analytics. And analytics seems to be a topic of concern for a lot of marketing and small businesses, just to see what kind of traffic you're getting. And it also helps you find your target audience if you are not really sure who they are yet.
So I see there's a question about having an in-person meeting. So some of our advisors, I'm not sure where you're located, but some of our advisors do have their one-on-one meetings with clients face-to-face. A lot of those are actually in person if you're in a location where they can do that. If you're talking about trainings, we are kind of back to a hybrid model. Some of our trainings are in person and some of our trainings are virtual. So keep that in mind when you're looking at our workshop offerings. Kind of look and see if that is an online workshop or if it's an in-person workshop. So I think there's a lot of option for in-person. Part of that depends on your location. And as business owners, we understand you guys are really busy. You're wearing all of those different hats. And so, sometimes it's easier to attend a virtual event because you don't have to, you're not having to travel and take that time out of your day.
We have time for a few more questions if anybody has anything else.
So I am getting some private messages, and I will be responding to those and matching you with advisors that are in your specific geographic area. So a good approach to ask for the sale. Well, I think the important thing is asking. So I think it's important because a lot of times we give out a lot of information, or we give the information and we let it sit there and we never ask for the sale. So close the deal, right? So if Nicole and I are talking and I'm trying to get Nicole to sign up for consulting services, right? And we've done it today. We've asked you guys to click on the link, right? We've told you to respond to our email. Like, we've given you multiple opportunities, and we've said it several times, right, to actually engage with us. So same kind of thing. If I'm asking Nicole to sign up for consulting services, if she says, well, I don't know if I'm really interested at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and follow up, and I'm gonna say, Nicole, is there something that is keeping you from signing up at this time? Well, I don't really know that it's in our budget at this time. So if cost wasn't an issue, then you would be interested in our services today. And that gives her the opportunity to say yes or no. If the answer is no, then it may be just a no. If the answer is yes, then we can work around other issues, right? And if the answer is no, I'm going to say, well, should I reach back out to you at another time, right? You're going to have some no's. Realize that, right? We wouldn't have so many different businesses in every industry if there weren't some no's to some of us, right? In sales, sometimes we say you have to get through 10 no's to get a yes if you're doing cold call selling. If you're closing a deal on your website, you want to make sure that you have a lot of opportunity to click here to shop, click here to purchase, click here to, those different things. Make sure you're embedding those in your website. Make sure you're embedding those opportunities in your social media as well. Make sure you're redirecting people from your social media to your website if that's how you want your traffic to flow. Those things are important to actually close the sale. A lot of times, I think people are just hesitant to ask for the sale. I don't know what that is, right? And if you think about this, we're all selling something all day, right? Whatever you do currently, you're selling all day long. You're selling yourself if you're a consultant or a representative, right? You're selling the service that you work for. You're selling a product. And we're all selling something all day. So that needs to translate, right? Just ask for the sale, close it. Give them the opportunity. And if the answer is yes, great. Go ahead and get the signature, get the payment, take that final step. If the answer is no, then work through the objections. So hopefully that answered your question. And Darren, I'd be happy to work with you, or one of our advisors to work with you that's in your area to kind of work through that, especially if you need sometimes, you need a little coaching on that. What does that feel like? I had a client I was working with, a young client, and he was very scared to ask for the close, right? He didn't want to ask for the actual payment. At the end, he did this great pitch. We had worked on his pitch, and he just didn't want to close the deal. And I said, do you ever watch late night TV, the infomercial kind? And so we changed his price point by $1, and then we broke it into 3 payments because the objection that he was getting was a cost objection. We broke it into 3 easy payments, and the next day he had 3 sales. So, it's an approach thing. So once again, understand who your competition is. Look at other people who are doing it well and find out what's working for them. And practice it. If you're doing in-person relations, you have to practice sometimes. So yes, we are going to be sending out, I'm getting this question privately, we are going to be sending out a PDF version of the slides that we were using. So we will be sending that out to you via email, and then you can respond and let us know if you have feedback on that or any questions. So other questions? All right, Nicole and I are going to stay on for a few minutes, but that does conclude our presentation. Thank you guys so much for investing time into your business. It's so important that you invest time into the management and the planning for your business. So thank you for that.
Recording stopped.